Good morning, everybody. Coach Hurt here with the Elvis Kelly Fight Team doing another episode of Two FMA-Nerds Talk About Stuff. We're not actually going to talk a lot about FMA today. Yesterday was the Filipino Independence Day, and we're going to talk about Fil-AM culture, Filipino concerns, and I have a great guest who specializes with that, but particularly through a clothing brand. I'm going to bring on Genson Fernandez from Nostalgink, and I'm going to let him tell a story. So let's welcome him and jump right. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon. Good morning, Kurt. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing really well. I have coffee. I came back from camping. So, yeah, let's roll back into this. So jumping right into this, let's talk about you and let's talk about what you do. So, tell us a story.
All right. So, started the brand back in 2017. The inspiration actually stems off around 2017. I just turned 40 at that time, and my wife, she had set up a surprise gathering for me. Actually, I tried doing it. She actually jumped on the plan, and she took all my friends, put them all in one restaurant. And these were all friends from like back in high school, college. There's just a handful of us. And I started looking back. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just turned 40. And what am I gonna do now? So, you know, I had just started a career, and no, I didn't just start it. I had been in my nursing career. I'm actually a nurse by and after working as a nurse for a few years and then turning 40, having my friends all around me, I was like, wow, I think I actually had a little bit of a midlife crisis. 10 years earlier, 10 years early. But I think this was a good thing because it actually, I looked around at the table of my friends, and I was just like, wow, I think I can do something. And all of a sudden I started, texting, calling back and forth. One of my friends over there at the table, and he thought it was a good idea. He said that I've always been a little bit of an artist, and becoming a nurse was really, with Filipino parents, they encourage you to become nurses or be in the medical field. So I went with it, and I honestly do enjoy the field. But part of a big chunk of my heart was into art ever since I was a kid, and I actually wanted to take it a step further. Second time around and start doing artwork. And when all of a sudden I started drawing a little bit, and really, I'm not really tech savvy. So using a computer to draw was completely foreign to me. So when I actually put our logo together, the one that's right behind me, when I put that together, actually, it was like a hand-drawn type sketch thing. And then all of a sudden, boom, it was born. Nostalgink was born, and I started putting up my artwork. I had no idea how to do it, and I was like, I want to create something that inspires me as a Filipino American, and kind of speaks to my upbringing here as a Filipino American. So, and here we are, like 7 years later, and boom.
That's awesome. We got some love dropping down. So you talk about your friend. We have some shared friends. So you got Errol Basileros down
Yes.
there, and also Sachi Varil. So actually, the way that I got aware of what you do is actually there was a post with Sachi with that awesome rash guard, and he's wearing a crisp blade. That photo is so dope. And Sachi is actually one of the Sachi and Errol are actually two of my favorite humans within the community because they're so real. They're from the East Coast, and actually, like with Errol and I, we're both coming from the hood rat days, so there's a little bit of that connection there. So yeah,
The guy he's the one from back in the day,
yeah.
growing up in Jersey. I have an older brother who was really good friends with him,
Mm-hmm.
and what I love about having this little business of mine is that
Yeah.
being out there in social media, it's like people reach out to you, and I'm, oh man, we got to get together. And when you see these people, it's like I mean, the name Nostalgink, like when I decided, it sounded really stupid at the time, and then I was just like, you know what, I gotta create a name that I'm going to stand by, my whole life, really.
Yeah.
And the kinds of designs that I wanted to put together was really, number one, it's like throwing back to Filipino history, but it's also throwing back to Filipino American history.
Yeah.
So when I say when I make these designs, they are a piece of who I am and a piece of the culture that my parents came from, or me and my parents came from. So, and then kind of meshing that all together in growing up as an American,
Yeah, one of the beautiful quotes that I've heard in just this space is that artwork it's a piece of your soul that you're sharing with the universe, but it's also in congruence with the shared history of those who came before you. So the art that you produce is a living memory. It's a living experience that is shared throughout the community of which you're representing, and it's beautiful and it's powerful. And honestly, what art is what elevates us, because when we talk about martial arts is the expression of combative methods that was used in warfare. And the thing about the art side, art is at the behest of the blood that came before. So we have to have war to create peace, to create beautiful pieces of art. And so, but one of the things that art can do is show that respect and that deference and that celebration of the sacrifice that came before. And so, like, having that balance and that duality is so important. And where within the space of martial arts, people get so fixated on it must be combative, it must be warfare driven, it must be this. But you have to have the other side, because art is sustainable.
Right.
Art is what elevates us as a people.
I couldn't agree more. I mean,
Yeah.
one thing that I've always that I've gathered just being in meeting, being around Errol and Sachi, it's the FMA is continuously evolving, always evolving, and I kind of bring that into what I create, and I'm just like, well, I'm taking some traditional stuff here, and I'm trying to make it not just modern, not just updated, but making it like me.
Yeah.
And taking like the inspirations that I see from other people. I'm just like, that's a great idea. How can I make that a message like on your chest kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about a little bit about this before we went live, and I've talked about this in previous episodes. But when we're talking about Fil-AM concerns and this post-colonial concerns, and there's a lot of resentment and hatred and just anger attached to colonialization, but it's misguided in my mind. And we've all been there at some point, but as age and maturity allows us, and through good mentoring and through programs like artwork and cultural studies and the Filipino martial arts, we're able to get past that, because there's this balance between preservation of culture and living culture. Now, part of the living culture is the duality of respect to where we came before and the lessons learned from our forefathers and those traditions and all those things, but we're also living in the present of our current circumstance, such as Filipino America, is that we have three identities, actually. Right. We have that of which we came before, our community within the US, and we have our national identity as American citizens. So what that does is living in that culture creates a new culture, and that's a beautiful thing, and it's freeing from a lot of that anger and resentment. And the way we do that is in part by artwork and the conversations that comes from artwork. So with that, I want to talk about your logo. Where does that come from as an expression of you, and why did you choose that as your logo?
So I always felt like you look at it's a sabong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fighting. Mm-hmm. And I always felt like you look at the rooster and, it's just walking around a lot, right? And it does its thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, if you a rooster taught and trained properly, and you add a couple razors to its
weaponize it.
Yeah,
you weaponize it.
It becomes a very formidable, fighter. It's almost like the underdog. And it's like you stare at the rooster. It's like you're another stupid bird. And then all of a sudden, if you toy with it, it might just gouge out your freaking eyes. So mess with it. Okay, it's the underdog, and it can it might take out your sight, it might claw out your freaking throat. So chill and let it be. It's doing its thing. I always felt like I want to be that little bit of an underdog or a little bit of a sleeper when it comes to the artwork or the brand. I want to be able to just like seep in to the culture and let them know that I'm around.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a dope logo. And what better yet to express, again, the fighting Filipino,
right?
Other than the sabong. You could have the elegant elephant that used to be. We could have the alligator. But the fact is, we are scrappy people. We've been invaded. We've been invaded for centuries, and we, in the process of the insurgency, the rebellion, the revolution, the guerrilla fighting, we're scrappy people. That our lineage is just that, underestimated, but still scrappy and still there. And and that lives further on in our identity within the space of modern America, or I should say modern Western nations, because we're still etching and scratching our way forward to have that representation of who we are. But in the process, we're trying to really define who we are in this new generation, because there is this duality of, it's uncomfortable to talk about, but it's true. You got Filipinos back in the islands, and then you got Filipinos everywhere else. And there's this like conflict of like, you're not Filipino enough, when the fact is you're Filipino because you are.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I've like all my I was born and raised here in the States, and I barely speak Tagalog.
Yeah, same.
my older brother somehow. Okay, so let me quick backstory.
Yeah.
My parents came here. Me and my brother were born and raised here, starting from Newark, New Jersey. My brother, being the firstborn, he got plenty of exposure to my parents speaking Tagalog to him. Off to school. Now he goes off to school and practices English. Come into the mix, 3 years later, and he's speaking to me in English. My parents have tried their best to kind of talk Tagalog to me. just didn't register that easy. With him,
Yeah.
it did. So my older brother, actually understands and can speak a lot of Tagalog. He'll be able to survive with a little bit of help in the Philippines if he kind of
Mhm.
wants out. Me, if I was in the Philippines alone, I get lost. I get the old thing that they say: you go to the Philippines, you're gonna get kidnapped. So
I
but
mean, down in the south, maybe.
yeah, but I hardly speak Tagalog. I know when I'm being yelled at. I know when to hear from my name. I
Hmm.
know it's time to eat. I know the terms to go to the bathroom and everything. But it's I was always there's a couple things that actually, like, when I was growing up, yeah, I was always told you're not a real Filipino. This is like
Hmm.
this is me as a little kid. You
Yeah.
know, when you meet a new friend who actually is like from the Philippines, and he says, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" Being very nice, and all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, do you speak Tagalog?" I was like, "Oh
It's
no,
the
what's
it's
that?"
the O part. It's the O. That's what hurts so much is when they come up and like, oh, you're one of them.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was like, and I didn't know how to, how do you react to that when you're a little kid? You're just like,
Yeah.
uh, okay,
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means when you say, "Oh," it's like, what am I not? Am I not enough
Yeah.
Filipino? So I don't know. I mean, it's it. I've gotten comments. You're a coconut, brown on the outside, white on the inside.
Yep. Yep.
And at this point in my life, I've managed to just like brush it off, brush off all of that, and I'm just like, I'm gonna move on. That's your way of thinking. Whatever, whatever.
Mhm.
I'm gonna keep doing my thing. You do your thing. You know, I was born here, raised here, proud to be here. My parents did their best to teach me, and I'm all good with it. I'm all
Yeah.
good with
The
it.
fact is, we are who we are,
Mhm.
and nobody can take that from us
No,
because the only person who can snuff that out is us.
right.
And so, if we want to be any more Filipino or any less, the fact is, our life is what we make of it. And here's the other part about that issue about not being enough or oh, for a lot of us who were not taught our culture by one way or not by any other circumstance. It's not our fault that it wasn't taught to us as youth. Now, the other side about that is it is our requirement. It's if we want to be better at it, we have to take upon ourselves to educate ourselves, therefore elevate ourselves because as adults, anything of our choice and what we want is up to us. So if we want to learn our native language, we do it. We
Yeah.
want to learn what we cook, we do it. If we want to learn about our fighting arts, we go do it. That's
Mhm.
our responsibility. And so there's that transition that we have to take that accountability of saying, yeah, I wasn't taught this, but now as an adult, which I can liberate myself and liberate this negativity that comes attached to being not enough or oh, you
Yeah.
gotta go do it.
Yeah.
So
And it's like you're grown now.
mhm,
You can make your own choices. You know, you do what you can to educate yourself and learn about your culture if you choose to now. You
mhm,
know, and
mhm,
what that's and me, it's like my way of doing that was really just the artwork and being able to let me research where this is coming from, kind of
mhm,
thing, I mean, a lot of stuff I've put together. Uh, some of my designs, I'll use some of the traditional tattooing from the Philippines, right?
yeah.
Always put a disclaimer saying, like, look, this is not a tattoo from like back home. It's not the same way.
Yeah.
This is just me expressing how I want to place it, and that's really it. Don't tell people that that oh, this is the real deal. Traditional Filipino tattoo. It's like, no, this is me as an artist expressing what I put together.
Mhm,
So and I actually reached out to Lane Wilkin.
mhm,
I reached out to him. I asked for his advice. It's like, look, I love the fact that we actually have our own tattoo. Our culture has its own tattooing style from way back in the day. You know,
Mhm.
don't want to insult anybody by putting it together. And he gave me advice. He says, hey, just there's Sachi.
That's the one. That's the one. I love that one.
So I
But
mean,
yeah.
when I put this together, I was like, I just want to make it. I just wanted to make it look really cool and inviting. You
Mhm.
know, and I for me, it's like the first you gotta bring the crowd in
Mhm.
by attracting them with their eyes, right? And then it's like, oh wait, what's going on here? What's this all about? And then
Mhm.
I can explain it to them. It's like, hey, this is these are symbols. Each one is a symbol from traditional Filipino tattooing, but it's not like a Filipino tattoo sleeve or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Because that is another part about it is with the excitement of being Filipino and reconnecting to our culture, especially like this fifth generation, which I'll go back and talk about that,
Mm.
is like people really want to embrace all the cultural features of what was pre-colonial. But part of that is you got to educate yourself as to what you're actually wearing and is it appropriate
Mm.
because you see this a lot. Everybody wants to wear Kalinga script. They want to have the pintados tattoos,
Right.
but the question being is that for one, did you earn those tattoos? Because a lot of them
Mhm.
have the symbology of like you're a warrior, you're a shaman, you are a mother. Because that's a funny one I've seen is men wearing maternal tattoos.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen that. And also, like, there's this issue about regionality of is it appropriate for somebody, say, like a Pasayan wearing Kalinga tats,
Mm.
eh, or a full Pintados tattoo from somebody from Tondo? Like, there's so many questions as to what's appropriate to that. Now, one mindset that I believe is that as long as it's Filipino and you're a Filipino, that's okay. But the other mindset is you don't want to be there's this question about appropriation and wearing the appropriate tattoo because the common thing you see with people wearing like other Asiatic script is it may seem like the symbol of power or whatnot. It ends up being like the symbol for soup or
Exactly.
yeah.
I saw this one commercial. It's like the guy gets this Asia gets I think it's a Chinese tattoo in Chinese lettering,
Yeah.
and he says, "Yeah, it says dragon." It's like, no, dude, that's
That says I'm a dumb, ignorant, whatever. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, so I'm like, oh no. But from my understanding is, see, I don't have any tattoos,
Yeah,
and
nor do I.
after reading up and having a text conversation with Lane Wilkin, I was just like, wow, you really like if you want to get something that's like truly traditional,
Hmm.
you'd have to you got to do the you research like where you come from,
Yeah.
which I think is actually I think that ends up being like a very good um, spiritual journey to reconnect with your lineage, right? And if you were to actually find out where you came from, who your family was, and say, "Oh, wait, they were hunters,"
Hmm.
then maybe you can get something that represents the hunting aspect of that, and get the symbols placed on you.
Hmm.
I think is understandable. I just don't think when when it comes to like the tattooing, as long as you don't foolishly make claim to what you have is like, oh yeah, no, this is me, I'm a warrior kind of thing. It's like, no, your ancestors were dancers or something, or they were chefs, kind of thing,
Yeah. Yeah. Which leads to somewhat the argument of what I am today, because you got a lot of Filipinos that have military service. You
Mm.
have a lot of Filipinos that are professional fighters. You got a lot of Filipinos that are rough and tumble. So, like that mindset of being a warrior, yeah, the history may not be a lineage of warfare, but what we are today, and this is that part of that living culture, creating new culture, is
Right.
we're addressing who we are as of present in respect to who we have been and who we're trying to become. Because like in the case of tattoos, so I don't have tattoos. I have a bunch of scars. That's a whole other thing. But I have no tattoos, and I have no cultural tattoos. Mainly because I had to be sure as to where I was from. Because one, I'm adopted, and so without knowing which regions for certain where my family came from, is I wanted to make sure that if and when I get the tattoos, they are appropriate by cultural regions. Fortunately, with 23andMe and actually just part of my adoption story is I do know that my biological mother is from Olongapo. I was born in Angeles, and come to find out, my biological father is from Iloilo. So there, I have the connections as to which regions. Now, as to who they were and what they did, I don't know, but I can make those connections as to regionality appropriate tattoos.
Right.
So, yeah,
I think, and I think that's fine. It's like
yeah.
that's I always say that like, there's a design. I don't think I put it out there, but one of it was like it's kind of like a motto, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
It goes, never forget, no, never forget,
Mm-hmm.
never regrets,
Mm-hmm.
always forward.
Yep.
And when I thought of that, I was it kind of what resonated in me was that it's like you got there's history in the culture, there's history behind the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Understand it, learn about it, but and this is also like this can be individual as well.
Mm-hmm.
You've done stuff in the past.
Mm-hmm.
You can't change it. You don't have any regrets about it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of move forward because really I always feel that no matter where you are right now, every single step that you or every single experience you've had in the past led up to this moment right now.
Yep.
No matter what, no matter what stage you are in your life. And I think that's kind of like I feel like that's kind of how, and this is probably with any culture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your culture's history, it either it could have had a really good history, or it could have gone through like it could have been war torn, right? But regardless, you talking about it now, and you kind of educating others about it, it's really like you shouldn't have a whole lot of regret towards it or a lot of resentment towards it because if that did not happen, then you might not be where you are now.
Yeah.
Really,
Yep.
so
I mean, all experience. So one theory is that there's no good and there's no bad experience, just learning
right.
lessons. And in respect to who we are today, that came from the behest of some beautiful enlightenment and some great evil, and those perpetrated by both sides.
Mhm.
Now, we are not beholden to that of the past. What we are beholden to is who we are at present and what we're trying to go and become. And this goes back to that whole enlightenment and elevation of being enough. Well, I wasn't taught that in the past, but today I can do something about it, and tomorrow I can do something about it. And this plays into this issue about generational trauma, generational cultural conflicts, and particular to like Fil-AM cultural concerns. So, talk about generational theory. We have the first generation, which was born and bred and raised in the Philippines. You got the second generation that immigrates from the Philippines to whatever nation. So they still have blood ties and memory back to the Philippines. You got the third generation that has living memory of those before and may have gone back. Then you have the fourth generation, which is the generation that generally gets disconnected because they're fully assimilated into the new nation. In the case of us in America, and they were like the true definition of Fil-AM. Then you have the fifth generation who's trying to reconnect to what was before, but they're so disconnected by time and lineage that they may have never been taught Tagalog. They may have never been back to the Philippines. They may have never had any experience of who or what it is to be Filipino. And this is where I find this generation is actually most resentful and has so much misguided anger when it comes to this idea of decolonization and finding this indigenous reconnection to what was. And what I find with that is it's up to the generations before to help guide them through that anger to that point of enlightenment. And but it requires that fifth generation to acknowledge that anger, but do something positive about it. Because if you're just sitting there bitching about like anti-colonialism, it's like you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything positive. But I remember being there, and I remember, and I know others have been there as well. And you just got to get past that part and just embrace what is and become what you want.
I think I think that this generation right now, there's a little bit of a little bit of a split. So
Mm-hmm.
there's one half that fully embraces like, I just want to know.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the other part where it's like, I'm fighting the cause.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, to me, like you can see it as like, I mean, you can see it as a positive and a kind of a negative, but I think it's like, hey, great. It's like you're still seeking to either teach or educate, which is a good thing. It's like it's because it's just putting us out there, because there's still a lot of folks out there that just don't get it. They still think, it's like, oh, Fernandez. Oh, do you speak Spanish? It's like, no, no. It's like, no, it's like, the name is, and now go through the whole thing. The name is Spanish, but I'm Filipino, kind of thing. So there's still people that are. I won't call them. I can't call them ignorant, or stupid, because it's just that they just don't know.
Yeah.
Same mistakes that I would make of another culture. It's it's
Oh
just
yeah.
it's just how it is.
Oh, my favorite part when it comes to naming and associating the culture. So my adoptive parents are very white, and so I have a very German name. So my first name is Kurt, which is very German, and my last name is Leffler, which is also very German. My middle name is Patrick, which is very Irish, but the fact is my family's very very German. So when they hear Kurtz, they expect, oh, white guy. When I show up and like, not white guy. There's a little confusion. So it's really funny. And for one, it used to make me really angry when I was a child. Like, you're not him. You're not that. Like, and there's like this twinge of like, you're a racist. It's like, it's not really that anymore. Now it's just like, it's part of my fun. It's part of my gag of like, yeah, I thought I was this, but here I am. So deal with it. But again, that comes from age and maturity.
Yeah.
And in the concern of dealing with guiding through that anger and that resentment, I wish I had somebody to mentor me through of like what it is to be a Filipino, what it is to be enlightened into the indigenous culture and in respect of what we are and what we're trying to become. I wish I had that. The answer is I didn't, but through like FMA, I've had that a lot. But that's come later in life. And it's also through my own experiences, developing my own resiliency, my own identity. But I wish, and just like many other young Filipino men and women, I know they do too, because like the concern that I run into is my children. So my wife is also very German, and so my children are that, as I call them, my beige minions. So they have some pretty strong Filipino features, but trying to embrace and pass on the knowledge of what is our culture, it requires me to learn about our culture,
right,
and share it with them.
I mean, my wife, she's from Cebu.
Yeah.
Born in Cebu, came here to the States like when she was 12. Speaks fluent Visaya, Cebuano. And our two kids, it's like I feel a little bad for them because I can't speak Tagalog or speak Cebuano or Visaya, and my wife's trying to give them words here, and they're getting a little bit here and there, which is cool. And they have like each time I learn something, I try immediately, learn them, teach them about. It's like, oh, this is what I learned about, about Lapu Lapu, or
Mm-hmm.
here's, I got this book, because like, here, read it, check it out,
Mm-hmm.
this is our culture, And then I told him yesterday, I said, hey, yesterday, it was Filipino Independence Day, guys, celebrate. But I think, um, going back on the anger thing, or resentment. Sorry, resentment. See, I when you mentioned that, I started thinking about, it's like, how was I when, looking back, when I was in like a college. There was a Filipino association for students and so forth, and really, like, I really wasn't into like doing the whole cultural thing, but I was in there for like the social aspect of it, which you I made new friends. I made lots of friends there, which was great. But, um I felt like, I was like, I really don't want to do like, tinikling. I kind of thought it was like, oh, just leave it to somebody else. It's kind of corny.
Yeah, yeah.
Was the mindset that I was in. It's like, I wasn't into it yet.
Mm-hmm.
It took so many years for me to finally say, hey, it's, you know, the culture's really cool. It's
Mm-hmm.
really cool. And, I wanna start learning a little bit more about it. I mean, we're the culture that's sitting on the sideline, and I wanna learn a little bit more, and I want to kind of put it out there, for
Mm-hmm.
kind of appreciate, because it really is that beautiful to me.
Yeah.
It really is that beautiful, you
And
know.
what I find is that it's the Filipinos not raised back in the islands actually are the ones who are seeking the knowledge, actually are the ones who are the most excited and end up actually being really well educated into the Filipino history, mythology, cultural practices because they weren't taught it. So they go from an academic inspiration to actually really learn this stuff because I've met several Filipinos that take for granted that are
Mm,
that take for granted as to their education back in the islands, and they just don't think about this stuff. They just don't, like, I live this, why do I need to know my history? And you find that in any other nation, because like in the case of the US, you have a lot of Americans who don't know much about American history, who
right.
couldn't pass a nationalization test, but you got all the naturalized immigrants who come in who know more about American history than Americans born and bred. So it's the same dynamic.
Yeah.
But it's the people who are hungry for it will seek the knowledge and actually will become the subject matter experts, even though they weren't raised in it, but they came at it later in life and took that advocacy and took that accountability. So yeah.
It's like, it's like, we talked before. We mentioned this before. I live in Jersey.
Hmm.
New York's right there.
Hmm.
And, New York's the beautiful city, but I don't go there that often. Maybe when I was, back in, when I was in high school or college, you could chill out there, often. But nowadays, hardly go there to visit, and you only go there when family from out of town's here, you
Hmm.
know. And then and now I have no idea where to take them in New York because it's changed a
Hmm.
bit. So, but yeah, it's like one of those things. Like, you take it for granted, that's right at your arm's reach. It's really just
Yeah.
so. Um, I'm at that point where I'm just like, I want to, and I am still a novice at this stuff. Like,
Hmm.
you know, I will never admit that I'm some expert at the culture. Even if I get to that point where I know so much, I'll never, say that I know everything. I'm learning little by little,
Yeah.
and like, I think one of the latest designs that I put together was about Independence Day,
Hmm.
yesterday, and literally, like, I plastered on the design 1521.
Hmm.
Not, yeah, 1521. I put it right on the back, the date of independence or the year,
Hmm.
that way people would be like, what does that mean? It's like, well, guys, this is the year that the Philippines gained. No, I'm sorry, no, I'm mistaken. Not 15.
For the Philippines was ratified by the United States
See,
and then
even
acknowledged.
I'm still making mistakes when I'm
It's
talking.
okay. I got it up here on Wikipedia, so I'm cheating.
But yeah, so there. This is the design. I mean, this was all part of the design that I put together. So June 12th, 1898. There we go.
Yep.
I'm hoping to, if someone like wears it, they'll be like, what's this date? What does it mean? And then you can easily say, well, this is the year our country got independence
Mm-hmm.
declared. I was like, all right. So it makes a little bit of a conversation piece.
Yep.
That's the whole thing. That's the whole idea. With Nostalgink. You look at designs that are just like inspired from our past, modernized, and you know, just like spark up the conversation with either a fellow Filipino American, or somebody else from another culture.
Yeah.
And that's really it. That
Yep.
way, hey, where did this come from? It came from a Filipino artist. So there. But
And there, one of the things that I find, because Alaska Native Studies is a big deal for up here in Alaska, because just like many other First People nations, there is this issue about the culture being assimilated and also thereby lost by obscurity and assimilation. And you find a lot of Native Alaskans, just like any other indigenous peoples, that are making that reconnection to what was. And so the way they do that is by integrating bits of the culture through the artwork. And honestly, I find artwork actually to be the most powerful way to express any indigenous culture, because for one, you have, like I said earlier, you have the history of what the subject matter is, but you also have the soul, the love, the passion of the artist who took upon themselves to learn about this stuff and then to express it in their own unique filter, in their own lens, and better yet, through their own experience. And so thereby it becomes a living piece. And on top of all that, the living piece is permanent. It is done. It is out there and is there for the world to see, versus something fluid necessarily like dance or Filipino martial arts, which, I mean, there's dedicated sets, but modern Filipino martial arts has only been like ratified and standardized within the past 80 years. So when it comes to artwork survives. And prior to that would be written language. And as the world knows, the written language of the Philippines isn't uniform, because the Kalinga script comes from a very specific region of the Philippines. But better yet, like the Philippines itself, the modern nation state, wasn't a unified nation accepted by the world until 1898.
Right.
So prior to that, we were individual sultanates and individual kingdoms and tribes. So there was no like uniformity across the board. So, but telling the different regional stories through artwork is really important. And on top of all that, like the oral tradition and the music is also important, but it's really artwork that I find is the physical symbology, the physical icons that represent us, the struggle, and the successes moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's a you tap into that sense, that visual sense. It's like once something grabs your eye, it's gonna grab your eye really good, and then you're gonna have some kind of curiosity towards it and start asking questions. Oh wow, what's going on there? What's that about? How did you put that together? What was the inspiration behind it? And then you kind of go behind you go behind like this is what I was feeling at this moment. And I felt like this needed to be here. This needed to be right there to bring out this color more, or this line, or squiggle, whatever. And it's like once you put it out there, it's like boom, there's the stamp right there, and it's for the world to see now.
Yeah.
I think it's something that always constantly evolves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's I always try putting like with FMA. I think there's a sense where there is a there is a kind of curriculum standard, you know, for it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's always evolving. You know, like, you know, where one technique worked before might not work again the second time.
Yep.
But you have to adapt, or you have to come up with something new, so
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, you catch the person off guard the next time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and then you add that to your you add that to your you know, what's the word I'm looking for? You add that to your repertoire, I guess. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's constantly evolving, constantly learning, um, and it's just like how, you know, my artwork or someone else's artwork kind of changes over time. You
Mm-hmm.
know, FMA does the same thing. You know, it has one starting point, and then it just evolves from there.
Yeah.
You know? I went I came across something, actually no, my friend from Rutgers,
Mm-hmm.
Adam Diaz. He's the one that started again. I believe he started the an Asian Studies program over there at Rutgers. Half German, half Filipino, 6 foot 6 foot tall, very light skinned, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, got Filipino in him. And um, he was I got into a conversation with him a little while back, and we got into this thing where it's like, are you Asian? Are you Pacific Islander? And I think this is one of those topics that a lot of people are starting to talk about now.
Yeah.
He threw this word at me. It's like Austronesian. I was like, what is that?
It's a language structure.
Yeah, and then he was telling me, he's like, well, you know, well, this, some people from this region, from like, you know, again, region meaning like not on the Philippine Islands themselves, but, you know, from this part of the world came over here, and then this one came over here, and this one mixed over here and over here. We are actually a, a, a melting pot, you
Mm-hmm.
know, melting pot of brown people. You know,
Yep.
it's like, you know, it's almost like it's like um, a mini United States, I suppose. You know,
Yeah.
um, and I was like, wow, I had no idea it was like that. That's how it was. You know, you get a little here, a little there. Some people from the African continent, some from the actual Asian continent, and
Mm-hmm.
then Pacific Islands, and boom, you got Filipinos.
Yep.
Because they all had like depending on the region of the Philippines, they started, as you mix the culture, they started taking on the physical features. And
Yep.
I was thrown back. I was like, oh my god, that's so freaking true now. Like you see
Mm-hmm.
some of these old photos. I was like, oh wow, this one's got some. This is a very old photo, and this Filipino has a little bit of uh, African features.
Yep.
This here has some Mongolian features, or this one has like Chinese features, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just mixed all together.
The
It,
Philippines is not a homogenized people.
right, and I
Yeah.
don't. And you know what? And I, you know, I was ignorant to that. I didn't know that, and you know, and now I know.
Yeah.
Now I, you know. Um, but it's to me it's like that's it's like wow, it's so freaking cool. Like, you know, we're this mix, and you know, we're Filipinos. That's who we
Mm-hmm.
are.
We
No,
assimilate and we adapt, and
yeah,
then we evolve to
yeah,
make it our own.
and
And
we
yeah,
rise, and we rise
yeah,
and overcome.
yeah. There's a beautiful song from Talilo Marfil, and it's called Waves. It just came out recently, and he went back to the Philippines recently to the Kalinga region and got traditional tattoos from Wanaog,
Mm.
and the whole theme of the song was just like Filipinos just ride the wave and evolve and make it our own, and it's a beautiful like statement of like who we are as a culture. And not to mention on the other side of art, I find the rise of what I call flip hop is a powerful thing because it's giving voice to the concerns in the larger musical media of the experiences of what it is to be Filipino and more and Filipino American and Filipino pre-colonial and all those things. And it again it speaks to the resiliency and the adaptation of what it is to be Filipino. And it's a beautiful medium of watching us ride and rise. So yeah, it's awesome.
I love, you know what I've always loved about, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I always felt that, Filipinos, like they can blend. Not I say they can make friends in any culture.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
There's there is like if you're like from European descent, or I'm trying to be correct here. Um, if you're like if your friends are like European and you grew up in that kind of school, you
Mhm.
can you can blend in there. If you were living in in a suburban, not a suburban, in an urban city,
Mhm.
you blend in easy, and I found that that's like one of the, I don't, maybe I'm biased, but I feel like we're one of the few cultures that can actually do that,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
and it's like I remember being in high school. In high school, we had a decent amount of Filipinos,
Mhm.
but we were not all in the same crew.
Yeah.
Some of us were in the honors, high honors section. Some of us were in the
Straight up hood rats.
yeah, man, bunch of
Yeah.
troublemakers,
Yeah.
and then us were just like, we're just the ones that just kind of hung on the wall for a little, and
Mhm.
no, we blended everywhere, and we were like that sleeper, the sleeper culture,
Mhm.
always in the shadows, and just ready is like, yeah, I did that. That's from me. Okay,
Mhm.
we started that up. So it's not those guys. We started that up.
That that telephone, that yo-yo.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because like I'm a military brat, so my adoptive family were Air Force. That's actually how they ended up adopting me because they were stationed back in the Philippines at Clark Air Base back in the 80s.
Okay.
So with that, I moved around a lot as a kid, and with that, I had the great opportunity to want to assimilate and like integrate into a lot of cultures depending on the region. And as a process of that, I was able to adapt my accent and just pick up accents. And sometimes I get stuck in them, but part of that comes with a capability of code switching. So the majority of my childhood was spent in Southern California. So what I have found is I code switch between different accents
Mm.
all the time, and like specifically like Hawaiian Pidgin accent. It's actually that's the accent that I predominantly grew up with because my adoptive cousins are also Samoan, growing up in that region. So when I find myself slipping into that, depending upon who when I'm with like other Filipinos, and then when I'm with everybody else, it's a really interesting dynamic. But what's also interesting is that like I take on certain um cultural mannerisms that come with that accent. So like I end up being a different person. It's really interesting to see that transition. Sometimes it's a little frustrating for those who are not used to
Right.
that accent and those mannerisms, but it is what it is. And more to that, it is that Filipino ability to adapt and assimilate and make our own. Because like one of the worst ones that I picked up on and got stuck in because myself being military is being stationed in the South. I had like this Southern twang for a while and I get stuck in it if it's really awful. But again, Filipino, I am what I am, and I am whatever I am at the present moment. So
But that's it. I mean, it's just like we're able to just adapt.
mhm.
I think that's. I mean, it's not. I mean, I think that's one of the things that kind of makes it so beautiful. The culture,
Mhm.
so the adaptability um, of the culture, just to be like, I mean, people said when we boast about our culture being very friendly, it's why? It's because we can adapt.
Mhm.
We're we're genuinely I think we're genuinely a kind culture, um, but I think what helps is that ability to adapt to a crowd.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
you know, just walk up to somebody, like, hi, hi, how you doing, and just kind of go with the flow of it.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden you just made a new friend.
Yeah. Honestly, it's easier to learn about something and to educate somebody and tell a story if you come at them with peaceful hands and a smile rather than forcing it upon you.
Mhm.
And going back to that generational resentment issue, is like, I understand you're fighting for the cause. I understand and I respect and I appreciate you fighting for the cause. However, you're not going to get the message across if you're just screaming and yelling, kill the colonizer. You
Right.
got to like share the story in a palatable way.
Yeah.
So yeah, and this is where I find like content creation that isn't clickbaity and that isn't just so negative, such as artwork and music, is a way to tell a story, to tell the culture, to teach others about it, and also teach ourselves
Right.
within our own community. Like, this is who we are, this is who we're becoming, and this is where we came from. And like I said, artwork is a way to do that. Um, Speaking of which, of artwork, who are some of your favorite Filipino artists out there?
Ooh. Ian Santa Maria.
Mm,
Now I saw his work. I had no idea he was Filipino.
yeah.
Um, I saw a piece of his scrolling through Instagram, and he did. I think one of the first ones that I saw was, I believe it was like an Iron Man comic book, but it was
Hmm.
a book that had it was like blank white.
Hmm.
He drew his own version of Iron Man on it. I was like, dude, that's freaking crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm looking at it, I was like, what is it? How did he do that? And then he did one for, I think he did one with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Did that one. And then all of a sudden I see a, uh, I believe it was a Manananggal,
Hmm.
the, the Aswang. And I was like, whoa, wait, who is this guy? So I looked him up. I was like, oh, that's freaking dope. This guy's Filipino, and he's doing this really cool artwork.
Hmm.
I, I ended up buying two of his books just to stare at it all day. It's like, dang, I'm not there. I wish I was there. Another artist I like is also, who I loved as a kid, um, uh, Waltz Portacio. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
when he came out with Bishop on the and X-Men, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then I found out not too long ago that Bishop was supposed to be Filipino,
Yep.
supposed to be the
Yep.
first Filipino character. I was like, yeah, that's messed up.
Hmm.
That's pretty messed up. And but then I think, what was it? They finally came out. I think, I think it was Marvel came out with uh, their first Filipino character, I believe,
Yeah,
Wave,
you got Wave, you got Pearl, Pangan. Yeah.
which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was an amazing step forward.
Hmm.
Um, who else do I like? Jim Lee. Jim Lee. I'd say he, like, growing up, he was my number one.
Hmm.
His artwork. Um, Tried to imitate, just can't quite do it. It's so
Yeah.
hard. Um, but yeah, I loved his work. Oh wow, most of the artists that I love were just comic book artists that I grew up with.
Yeah.
Eric Larson, Rob Liefeld, the guy that can't draw feet or hands. But I didn't realize that until I really stared. So, but yeah, and Todd McFarlane from Spawn,
Yep.
those guys, that whole crew. I loved all the stuff that they did there, and they're the ones that actually inspired me to actually I wanted to be a comic book artist when I was growing up, but
Same.
you know, um, with Filipino parents, they're just like, yeah, be nurse, guaranteed a job. And I was cool with it. I was completely cool with it. I still love doing it up until this day. Um, you know, and I would say if anything, there's a who's that other artist I was thinking of? He leaves my mind. Why can't I remember his name? But there's a new one actually that this Mark Tedesio
Mhm.
Bayani.
Bayani art. Yeah.
Love his stuff. I
I
met
love. Yeah.
last summer, and the guys got. I'm like, dude, this is freaking cool. Like, you're literally taking like you have a modernized character.
Hmm.
And it's like the soul comes from the past and kind of, you know, he brings it forward, and I'm amazed by it, and he's done really cool things with his artwork and so forth. I really love what he's been doing.
Yeah,
So
I love his artwork. I have quite a few of his pieces, or just a lot of his T-shirts. The other one is Mark Mendoza from Etok Clothing. Uh,
yeah,
I
yes,
loved his stuff back in the day. I know, like in 2019, he dropped off and the business closed, but like his pieces, I ended up repping most of his gear because I was an affiliate
mm,
of his. But yeah, like it's the cultural pieces. It's the pieces
right,
that speak as to let's have a conversation about it. It's a dope design and it has that flair of the individuality of the particular artist, and it's educational. So
right.
yeah.
And I always try adding that little bit of education. I
Hmm.
try as cool as I can make it, just and then make sure I got a little bit of education in there as much as possible. I
Yeah.
mean, like there's one that I was poking fun at uh the one that I recently made. I was poking fun at Rice.
Hmm.
The it's kind of like a brand that we always picked up when I was growing up, and it's got like three elephants on it,
Hmm.
and it's literally like when I show it when I show it in this region, and people they'll spot it from afar. Yeah, they'll see us from afar, and they'll be like, "Oh, wait, mom, dad, hey, he's got the elephants."
Yeah.
So I've always find it like hilarious when people and I love it. I love it when people connect to the artwork.
Hmm.
It's so satisfying
Hmm.
to say like when I put something out there, and I'm blushing right now because I love how I'll put something. It's like someone's gonna get this.
Hmm.
If you got if you capture this and your eye just grabs onto it and says, I know where that's from. I
Yeah.
know where it's from. And then they walk up. I was like, dude, that's dope. I'm like, thank you. We touched somebody. Touched somebody.
Yes.
No, you touch one person, and I'm good for the day. I'm good
Hmm.
for the day. But I think the Lapu Lapu
Hmm.
one. So when I made that one, uh, that's the one I mixed up. I sometimes I mix up the years. That's the 1521 one.
Yeah.
So I put 1521 on the back, Lapu Lapu.
Hmm.
So in the traditional alphabet, put Lapu Lapu there, and I kind of tried making um, the figure of it almost like how the traditional tattoo was done,
Hmm.
sort of. Just the overall shape of it, and I tried using that kind of colorway of some of the traditional garb that they were using back then, or
Hmm.
even when they actually do the dances. I tried taking those colors like the yellows,
Yeah.
the maroons, that that grayish taupe color, and kind of put it all together. I even put a little splash of paint on there, kind of like a war kind of thing with a little bit
Hmm.
of blood, you know. And some people get it. Some people
Hmm.
get it. Or even they'll even say, "Ooh, that's kind of cool. What does that mean?" It says, Lapu-Lapu, and they're like, I get it.
It's also a dope print because it looks like a superhero
Right.
uniform.
Exactly. See, even you just got it too. You
Yeah.
give it that little superhero flair, and then people are like, oh, I feel like a warrior. I feel a little super, kind of thing. You
Yeah.
know?
That's awesome because I mean the fact is, like I said, artwork is a powerful connection to the past and living in the present,
Right.
and I find it so necessary because I mean the world is. I really wish the world was full of more artists, and we just passed the 80th anniversary of the invasion of Normandy, and there was generations of artists, engineers lost due to two global wars. And again, this comes from, we've talked about this before, without the bloodshed and without the bonds brought by that, the legacy, we don't have the stability of creating art and celebrating and having deference and reverence for that. But again, I really wish the world was filled more with artists than with warriors. But again, we need both to celebrate both. And yeah, it's just it is very fitting that again that transpired a few days ago. But there's a lot of beautiful artwork that came out as a result of it. So, and there's a lot of passion attached to it. And just like there's a lot of passion brought forth with artwork, especially cultural artwork, to speak to that lineage, that culture, and just what we're trying to say as of today.
Yeah, there's a little bit of there's a little bit of probably a lot of spiritual connection
Mm-hmm.
with with the artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Any artist that actually put something together, what were they, what they were feeling at that time,
Mm-hmm.
what inspired them, like when you talk about when you're talking about the artists that came about after that war, it's like
Mm-hmm.
what's I mean, if you're seeing like a picture that's just like, wow, this looks really, really like horrific in a sense, like what you were feeling then was that from the war? Did you feel
Mm-hmm.
that? Kind of put it onto a canvas, and it's like again, like a visual, like you tap into that it's so easy to tap into that visual sense.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel that emotion, and it's like one of those things where like I never used to understand. It's like I never used to understand when you go to a museum, you're staring at a painting, and never really understood. It's like why is everybody staring at this?
Mm-hmm.
But now when you realize it, what what the what the person was doing at that very moment that they were putting paint on that canvas,
Mm-hmm.
this is really the expression of what they were feeling at that time.
Yeah.
And then it's like they say, picture's worth 1,000 words, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so true. It's so true. I mean, like you can ask so many questions about it and get so many different answers and what it means to somebody. It means something different to somebody else too. You know,
Yeah. I'm
like
trying to find. Go ahead. Continue.
just like by like a splash of paint. Someone just like at the time they were feeling really angry and they just freaking threw like a whole bunch of paint on the canvas, and then all of a sudden they felt happy and they kind of made a nice swirl of some sort. You were angry at this point, you were sad at this point, you were happy at this point, maybe again that would be like your interpretation of it, but it's truly an expression of what you're feeling right then and there.
Yeah. So speaking of like artwork generated through war, I mean, this isn't one of your pieces. This is one of Mark Mendoza's in collaboration with Bayani Art. But I mean, you have this piece, the Fighting Filipinos piece, and I love this print. Um, but I mean, what's also powerful about this is you have GM Leon Heron, who was a straight up insurgent, or Miguel Heron. He was a straight up insurgent and combat veteran during World War II. He fought in the islands, and yeah, it speaks to the lineage of who we are, where we came from, and the artwork that's generated from those experiences.
Wow,
So,
it's perfect. I remember, you know what? Mark was actually one of the first guys I reached out to
Mhm.
starting out. Like I thank him for, I thanked him a long time ago. We had like a conversation just out of the ordinary, out of the blue, right?
Mhm.
3 hours. I lost my voice because I was
Yeah.
so excited and, so excited to learn, you
Mhm.
know, and I learned so much from him, just like, like what he did, what it represented. And I was like, wow, that's freaking cool. I mean, itak, and what it stood for. Attain knowledge, and I was like, wow, like, man, you can't get like you can't get any better of a great representation of what he does, or what
Mhm.
he did with the business.
Yeah. So we've been talking around process, but we're going to jump right into nerdy. What is your process of generating a piece of artwork?
So I'll start off with, like, let's say for instance, let's take uh, the Independence Day one.
Mhm.
So the Independence Day one that I put out there, it's the one that said stuff. The 1892, right?
Mhm.
18, 1892. So I like gathering. I have a basis of colors, as well as like um, a background that I use a lot.
Mhm.
And really, in the background, you can see there's kind of these weird hexagon, no, no, not hexagon, yeah, hexagon shapes.
Mhm.
It's inspired from the traditional Filipino tattoo, where it's got the snake scales,
Mhm.
right? From what I have learned, they mean ancestry or heritage, right?
Mhm.
And that's something I was like, you know what? I want that on everything.
Mhm.
So I started creating templates for the background. And what I did was, rather than keeping it as a straightforward um, scale hexagonal shape, I warped it,
Mhm.
because I feel like it's the ancestry portion of that is always moving, right?
Yeah.
It's always it'll blend in. It blends with, like, the Filipino culture blends in with everything, right? So it's always a fluid motion. So I created it like that. When I choose my colors, I used to use colors that were um, uh, very RGB,
Mhm.
straightforward, white and blue type things. Then I started tapping into, it's like, you know what? I think I wanted to add a little bit of a retro type colorway to this, okay, and kind of blend it in with something more modern and a little traditional. So what I did was, on this design, you got the yellows, but it's kind of like a retro type yellow.
Mhm.
The scales background, and then same with the blue. A lot of the colors that I use are representative of our flag.
Yep.
So, but I, I've been using offset type colors, like again, a retro blue, or retro type yellow, or retro type red, just to kind of give it that nostalgia type coloring, something that would say, oh wow, this is kind of vintage, or this is kind of retro.
Mhm.
That's what I did. And I know there's a lot of people out there that say, you know, I, they'll say, like, don't, you can't wear the flag. There's a lot of talk about that. All right. I always try just representing the elements of the flag itself,
Yep.
and there's a lot of people out there that don't know what the flag does represent. And I'm hoping to actually, you know, here's some of the basics that you should probably start to
Mhm.
learn about the flag, and what it represents, why the colors are the way they are, why it's positioned the way it is,
3
what
stars and a sun.
Exactly. 3 stars in the sun.
Mhm.
What do the stars represent? What does the sun represent? What does the 8 rays that come out of it represent, and so forth. And I I had this thing where like I made a t-shirt design where um I just I went really blatant with it. I was like, this is what the 3 stars represent.
Mhm.
And I put all 3 stars, and each star with the name of the group of islands that it represents.
Yeah.
And I was hoping it's like this is okay. So here, guys, this is something cool for you to wear, but it's also now you can remember what the 3 stars represent on the flag. You
Yeah.
remember as and you wear it and you tell and when people come up to you and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. What does that mean? It's like, well, this represents part of the Filipino flag. It's the 3 stars, and these are the groups of islands, the main groups of islands that they represent.
Yeah.
So you know, you just taught somebody a piece of your heritage as you just learned it if you didn't know it yet. You know, and then I did one design where it's like um, uh, the 8 provinces.
Yep.
I just lined them up, boom, each one. And then you got it on you're wearing it on your chest. And you're like, someone's gonna say, oh, what does that mean? Like, well, these are the 8 provinces of the Philippines. You know, and I even put the sun. I hinted on with the sun in the background, so they'd be like, oh, what are these lines? Like, well, these are the 8 rays of the sun, the Filipino sun, and this is what they represent. So that it's like I think I went on. I think the last few designs I did, I think I just went on a whole spree of like let's do more education, do a little bit more education. As I learn it, then I can put it out there. You know,
Yeah.
again, really, it's like when I do the designs themselves, I'm just like, you know, what's what can be eye catching, what could be trending, um,
Mhm.
uh, and how can I make it really cool
Yeah.
and, and cool, representative, but not so obvious. There's some things where I really just like it's like boom, this is sun, 3 stars, the colors of the flag, and if you don't know what that is, then I'm sorry. But then there are some of the designs are like subtle, where because I know some people they want to wear something that's some of them want to wear like a single color or a single color scheme. They want something that's more subtle in representation of the Philippines.
Mhm.
So that's what I do, and I'm always hoping to attract. And I tell people, it's like, I'm no genius at this stuff. I'm not a genius. I'm a beginner, amateur at best when I'm putting this stuff together. And I'll tell them this is what I've put together. I think it looks cool. I think I'll wear it.
Mhm.
I'll be honest. All I wear is the stuff I design. That's all I wear. And like this shirt, the logo shirt,
Mhm.
it says nothing about the Philippines. It's just our logo.
Yeah.
But when people actually come, if people come up to me, it's like, dude, what is that? And I
Mhm.
can tell them, I can talk to them, and this is what it's about, you know. Because some people, when they see you wear something that's representative of the Filipino flag, and they already know, they're not gonna say, oh, okay, I already know what that is. But then
Yeah. It's a
when you see something that's like unusual, out of character, and you're just like, wait a minute, wait. I see something there. It might, I'm not sure, but what is that? And then you tell them it's like, oh, it's lapu lapu kind of thing, you know. So I try my best to create the curiosity, create, you know, just have I want someone's eyes to light up and be like, oh, what do
Mhm.
you, I've never seen that one before. I was like, yeah, you haven't seen it before because, I'm in the shadows. I'm on the sideline, and I'm just like, you know, put that out there. Let's see what happens. You know.
Yeah. Well, the other part, I have this theory about artwork. It's all the unique little discrepancies, all the little unique little boo boos, and just
Mm,
um, all those things that are not specifically to like the process. Like this is cookie cutter. It's all those little unique mistakes that
mm.
make artwork art,
Right.
because you can't replicate artwork.
Or you can.
You can't replicate mistakes because they are unique, they're individual, and they just happen. But that's what actually makes it so unique and special to that artist who created it. And so it's a little like Bob Ross, beautiful mistake or happy mistakes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's great because diving to AI art, because that's a problem that we're running into. AI can copy some stuff, but
Oh,
it's not quite yet to the inspiration of creating something unique and inspired from the soul
right.
of a person.
Mm.
And it can't replicate unique mistakes. I mean, it creates some mistakes, but it can't like individualize mistakes unique to the artists themselves. Because, like you said, there's some artists who just can't do hands and feet, and that's just their thing.
Yeah. But you know what? It's like I've always, it's very true because I've done I've done like little pieces of artwork, and I'd lose it. Like it's gone,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll try and recreate it. I was like, I
Nope.
I can't. I don't know what did I do there. I can't. Why does it doesn't look the same? It's
Mm-hmm.
like you do it once, and it's like you just can't unless you got a photocopier, and that's it. But you yourself would not be able to replicate that again. Like
Yeah.
you had those errors, those mistakes, and you erased, you redid it, and that process was one and done.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, you know. And it actually it's almost like a you just put your own fingerprint on it.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be replicated, you
Yep.
know. And the only way that you can really replicate it is if you put it out there and someone like just kind of replicates it, like literally replicates it. But that's really it. But when you first place it, first place it down on per se paper, you know
Mm-hmm.
that's it. That's your thing. That's your thing. You did it. And now it's like for me, it's like now I can take what I've created and I can have someone wear it around,
Yeah.
or I wear it around, and now it's just floating around in the universe. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
You know?
It creates influence and creates inspiration
Yeah.
from, again, from your heart and your soul. And the thing that I find, like, with maintaining like the originality of my own artwork and making sure that it doesn't, getting ripped off sucks. It just
Yeah.
does. But the way that I maintain, like, this is proof of the originality of this is my piece, is one, I keep all the pencil sketches and I take lots of pictures of it. And when I end up putting a piece of artwork out there, I'll film like as the progress of from pencil and different angles. So like you can't copy that.
Right.
So,
It's weird. Like I got so used to, like, I used to be pencil and paper. I
mhm.
got used to using the computer. Now I'm
Yeah.
just like, it's fine. But you know what? In terms of like if someone were to um, if you were to get ripped off and someone copied your work,
Hmm.
I used to be so angry. Like I would find stuff like online, and literally they didn't even try to, um, like not even like the wording. Like
Yeah.
they'll have the image, and they'll place it on a piece of clothing.
Hmm.
Even the caption's like exactly the same as mine. It's like you didn't even at least try to hide it, you know.
Yeah.
But
When it's
then
blatant. Yeah.
and then I used to, I think I spent like maybe a couple of months just trying to find who was trying to use my stuff, and I was just like, wait, to slow down. If someone has put enough effort to actually copy your stuff and attempted to sell it, all right. Number one, it's a compliment. I should be taking it as a compliment. Number two, if you're selling it, that means my stuff is getting put out there. I'm not making any, no, not making any business out of it,
Yeah.
but it's getting out there. So I know it's out there regardless. So that's how I started thinking about it. And I stopped chasing folks that were trying to, like, literally they'll screenshot what I have, and
Mm-hmm.
then copy it, place it on something else, and then sell it for themselves for their own.
Yeah.
Just
I mean,
not.
like, I had this happen, and this is actually how I got to know Mark. Is he, and I screwed up on the flag in this one, but this is a piece that I threw out there years ago, just humor wise, because with me, it's all about humor. So I use the rubber chicken. It's just, that's how I am. And so the commentary on here is in representative of Filipino martial arts. It's like, I don't know if I like it or we're just like hitting people in the face with a stick. And like he posted this and like, oh, that's my piece. And there was a thought that like I was upset about it. It's like, no, dude, this is cool. I appreciate you throwing this out there. And it sparked a great conversation and a pretty decent relationship and friendship that we've had for many years now. But if you look at it from a point of anger, then you lose out on that opportunity.
Right. And then all of a sudden you're stuck thinking about it, day in, day out. And it's like you just waste, you feel like so much energy was just wasted.
Yeah.
So I just, when I put something out there, I'm like, this is, and I think to myself, like, this was the chance that, no, I'm sorry, this was the risk that I'm taking. The chance that I'm looking to, make something of the artwork, it regardless, I believe that it's me, and no one can take that away.
Yep. And the problem we run into is with the rise of AI art doing what it does, there is no opportunity to create a friend and a relationship from a person who may have borrowed something from you willingly or unwillingly or unknowingly. And it's just, it's awful from an artist standpoint for somebody who, and just from a human standpoint, it's an awful opportunity or lack of opportunity. So
yeah.
Oh well. So like talk about process. Your process of creating art. We talked about your inspiration, but like your physical process. You're a digital artist at this point. What program, tablet do you use? Printmaking, what do you use? If you don't mind giving away trade secrets.
No, so really I just use I have a simple laptop. I don't even use a tablet. I use a mouse. I use a mouse. I don't even use the trackpad. I use a mouse, and I use Photoshop.
Okay.
I literally and I use the tools that are in there. And really, it's what the reason why I really use is because I'm able to create those precise lines that and to get the clarity. Like, again, this is like after years of practice. Like, I messed up so many designs where it's just like it just didn't make sense, and it's just because just after so much practice that I'm able to, like, this is like part of me is very my wife would call me particular. All right, she'd call me particular about what I do and very specific. And I get this from my parents. My mom's very particular. My dad's an electrical engineer. He was an electrical engineer before he retired.
Okay.
So when I'm like clicking away, and I'll ask my wife, I'll ask my brother, it's like, what do you think of this? And he says, it looks good. Looks good. And then I'll be like, no. There's something there.
Yeah.
Why? And I'll get, but it's, I'm really like, I'm not even like a master at using Photoshop. Okay. I probably should be practicing with a tablet, with the pen, and actually doing like the hand drawn stuff. But I've become such like I got to use like a ruler for everything. Like, it's got to be precise. And if I shift it the wrong way, then it's like, whoa, I got to go back a couple steps and I kind of redo it. And then really, I think if anything, like, I am probably the most novice user of Photoshop. Like, really, I think anybody like that. I'm hoping to like inspire other artists, because what I do is really basic. And the part that gets complicated is just really is just my inspiration. That's where things get complicated.
Yeah.
But tools that and the methods that I use are really simple. It's really simple. I mean, I'll 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 take a circle, you know, draw out a circle, fill it in, take a rectangle, prop it here, make sure it's at the right angle, put a triangle here. Um, and then I'll multiply the rectangle and triangle 3 times. And then I'll take that, overlay it onto the other side. And then I'll take the two that are like this, oh, I guess like this,
Mm-hmm.
duplicate, rotate, duplicate, rotate, duplicate, rotate. All of a sudden, I have the Filipino sun.
Yeah.
And really, it's all just like in my head. It's just geometry,
Mm-hmm.
moving around, and it's like this is my dad. This is my dad's genes. Being precise and everything like that. And my mom just be like, being particular. That's the sun. And then I'm just like, all right, well, now how can I freak this out? So let's make it a little thicker. Let's
Mm-hmm.
thicken up the sun rays. So I have like an option. I can either make it very, very spiky, or
Mm-hmm.
I'll 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 move the lines in a little bit more, and then throw in the color in there. Or do I want it like fatter and make it look, just a chubby sun? And then I'll just warp things around the way I like it. And I'm really like, when I put something together, it's like I need that symmetry. I need the symmetry of how it's gonna. If I guess depending on what I'm placing it on. If I'm gonna put it on, if it's gonna be on the chest, then I know people don't want to look. They don't want to look wider than they already are. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll try and make it so that it's a little bit more flattering, giving them a little bit of a triangle look.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm no expert, but this is just
Mm-hmm.
a process, right? And and for me, it's like, I'm not the thinnest guy in the world, but I do have yeah, I got a little bit of a gut, and it shows. So
Yeah.
I got to make sure that I de-emphasize the gut and
Mm-hmm.
make the chest look bigger, you
That's why I
know?
like symbols that are right here.
Right. So when I put the logo together, it's like it's wider up here,
Mm-hmm.
and then it kind of narrows out towards the bottom, so it's a little bit of a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
So that when I wear it, it's like, it's a little chaotic, but it gives that little bit of triangle like that.
Yep. Yep.
So again, when people when I see like the insights for like Instagram or Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
see that the people that are like liking the stuff, they're like my age group or
Yeah.
our age group. They're like dads or moms that like it, and I'm like, all right, so I'm appealing to that age group. So when I make something, I want to make it flattering too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, I think I made the like even my wife. She's always telling me, it's like, look, you can't put it like this. Women don't want to see that part. They don't want that part emphasized. I'm like, okay, so I guess I'll make it like this maybe. So I definitely get a lot of feedback from family. Some of them are very critical, which I do appreciate. I always want you to tell me you tell me if there's something like really off with the design.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started, I was you know I was a little critical when I heard someone saying, it doesn't look right. I'm like, man, I just put how many hours into this, and
Yeah.
you're telling me I gotta change it?
Yeah.
But after a while, again, that's the part of growing, and part of the growth. And I would, eventually I was like, all right, cool, let me try something else with it. But yeah, like again, like a lot of the like sometimes I do a little bit of like collaging type
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
um, I'll get a little inspiration from, I'll look up like a palm tree or something,
Mm-hmm.
right? I just and I'll get the inspiration from like some kind of like silhouette. And
Mm-hmm.
like, that seems pretty cool and representative. I can work with something like that. And then I'll try to, I'll freak it out. I'll warp it, and I'll draw that out and add that to this part here, and then I'll throw in the Filipino sun in the background, like a sunset.
Hmm.
Make and then let me see, and I'll look up online. It's like, what's a good tropical color scheme, you know, and then I'll start splashing the colors here and there, and then I'm like, all right, that's pretty good. I think one of the hardest things for me is like, and I tell this to my kids: trust the process, trust the process. It's
Yep.
not, you know, where you are right now. It's frustrating, but as you keep doing it, you keep doing it, you keep doing it, you're gonna get there. So
Failure is part of the process.
yeah. So when I actually when I start out, I still get frustrated because I'm like, damn, this doesn't, it doesn't, it's not, no, I don't like that. But then I stop and I'm like, just walk away for a moment,
Hmm.
come back, sit down, and then and just just work away. Just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, and then then lean back, take a look at it. I'm like, okay, this is why I say to the kids, this is why I have to say to myself, trust the process.
Hmm.
It's gonna come out the way you want it, or even better. So, you know.
Yeah, I've had pieces that I've had to put on almost in timeout for
Mm.
months, and then I'll come back to it.
Yeah.
And like you have windows of inspiration, and then you have windows like I just don't want to do this. So, and this is the hard part about like being a producing artist
Mm.
is that there is you have the type of producing artist like you have to put stuff out because that's your bread and butter, and people want to see more and all that.
Mm.
And then you have the other producing artists like I'm just gonna put stuff out when I can, and you get this beautiful piece. And so there's like this debate that comes back and forth with dealing with like a digital graphic artist
Mm.
versus somebody who is a traditionalist who paints
Right.
or uses these other classical mediums. And there's this debate is like who is really the artist. Well, the answer is they're both. It's just they
Right.
have two different processes and two different mediums.
Right.
It's just the producing graphic artist is putting work out and making money, and it's consistent versus like somebody who's doing these traditional mediums. They could sell at a high ticket value, but is it going to sell at
Right.
that? So it's just I've seen that debate. I've actually been subject to it in the past about like, well, you're just a graphic artist. Like, well, yeah, but I'm actually putting stuff out. What are you? So I don't know. Have you had that issue before?
Um, I don't know. See, like I don't think I don't tell people. I don't say that I'm a. I guess I'm still not sure if I should call myself like a graphic artist. I tell people like I make this, and this is I created the artwork for the gear, and these are my inspirations. I just
Mhm.
create. That's all it really is. And then I don't know if I'm really comfortable actually calling myself like a graphic artist or or any other name really. It's just like I made this. I just tell people like I made this, and you know this is my as original as I can get. You know.
Mhm. Well, by
Um,
definition, you are from an outside viewer looking in. You are, but the thing that I go at this point in my life is I just do stuff, and I get it when somebody else just does stuff, and yeah,
like this is the this is what I do. This is what I do. This
yeah.
is I'm just doing. You know, and I always I think it's easy. I find it easier to say that this is just me doing it
Hmm.
because I I put my heart and soul into it.
Hmm.
Each one, and each piece that I've done, it's like I felt very very proud of it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just like I really have no regrets of the choices on how I designed it.
Hmm.
Uh, the color choices that I put together and so forth. But I also appreciate when I throw stuff out, like that group of friends that that I talked about before
Mm-hmm.
during my birthday. I send them pictures of before I release stuff. I send them like,
Mm-hmm.
guys, what do you think? What do you think of this?
Yeah.
You think, is this something that you would, do you get it? I think the first question I asked them is like, do you catch what I'm trying to say here?
Mm-hmm.
And then like, and if they get it, that means, then I did my job. I did my
Yeah.
job. I'm
Yeah.
happy. And I know someone else is going to get it too, you know?
I mean, with the love that's being shown to you, just like with people repping your gear, I
Mm.
mean, it speaks volumes to what you do and the stories that you're telling and the things that you're trying to communicate to others. So, yeah, you are doing it. So, good on you for it. So, talk about other part of process in actual production of the pieces. Do you use a digital third party printer, say like, or do you use like a hand printing like t-shirt press?
No, actually, I found that I took a lesson from one of my friends that from way back.
Hmm.
He used to do this is like years ago. Like he used to
Hmm.
print his own stuff,
Yeah.
and he found it very difficult for to to have so much stock on hand. So when I first started, I actually started on the t-shirt, the online t-shirt company, Redbubble.
Oh, okay. I use custom ink, so yeah.
Right. So that's the first one and really it's like I was like, this is pretty cool. It's an artist platform,
Hmm.
and putting my stuff out there. So that's kind of like I didn't have to carry any inventory.
Hmm.
Uh, the work was kind of relieved from learning another process of like printing your own stuff
Yeah.
and carrying all that excess inventory.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the that's kind of the thing that I really just stuck with. So I started out with them, then I branched off to T Public, which
Yeah.
was another one. So I got stuff on there, and then I applied for Amazon,
Hmm.
and then Amazon does it too. So I was like, so they do a print on demand type thing too. So customer orders it, they print it and everything. And then when I started the custom stuff. Now that was hard. That was
Yeah.
hard. I was like, I wanted to not just print right on the t-shirt or like a coffee mug or I wanted like full full freedom to print ever I wanted to, and I couldn't find it. I had such a hard time finding it, but then um, eventually I've been finding companies out there that actually um, will do sublimation. So that's like for the rash guards. So the rash guards are done by sublimation. It's a cut and sew.
Hmm.
And when customers order, I'm a customer myself. I order, and then the order goes through. It gets printed onto the fabric, or it gets sublimated onto the fabric. They cut, they sew it, and then they send it out to me. You
Yeah.
know, so I mean, there's that kind of connection that I feel I have with the customers that order from me as well. You
Hmm.
know, so so the process is really it's like and it helps. It really helps. The only downside is that if I like when I do vending when I do vend
Hmm.
at festivals, I don't carry a whole lot of stock with me. So when people come up to us, I always tell them, it's like, well, this is just a nice sample of what we have. Uh,
Yeah.
and I kind of direct them over to the main website where they can actually order because all of it's made to order.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, who knows? Maybe eventually I'll actually, because there are advantages to actually printing your own stuff.
Yeah.
If you carry the blanks and you're able to do it right then and there, you can get them out a lot quicker.
Yeah.
It's very helpful, but that's the process you want to you gotta dive into. You gotta learn that part of learning how to print and picking the type of printing you want to do. Do you want to do DTG, or do you want to do DTF, or sublimation? All those are the choices you got to make.
Yeah.
Is it going to be cotton, or is it going to be a polyester blend? Are you going to line it up right, or are you're going to screw up the alignment, and then or
Let alone having the space and the equipment.
exactly.
That one's huge.
Yeah, the equipment's expensive. I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm there yet with the business where I can take a space in the basement. Right now, I'm in the basement right now. I'm telling you right now, I'm in the basement. This backdrop is behind the wood panel that leads up to the stairway going up to the first floor. And I don't know if I have like the space for like a printer, or like a vinyl cutter and so forth. I mean, I've seen it in the malls, like where like in the mall you see like these people, there's like kiosks to do that right in front of you. I'm like that's an interesting way of doing it, and they do it. It seems like a very simple process, but it just seems like right now for me it seems like a lot of work. Maybe in the future I might be more willing to actually
Yeah.
do it. Or I mean, I even have a friend who that again, this is like the one of the best things. You're able to reach out to old friends because yeah, they see you on social media and so forth, or they see you at a festival or something.
Oh.
A festival, and he actually does his own work. He does outside designs for other people if they want, and he prints. He's got his own work. His whole basement is the workshop.
Yeah.
And he does screen printing, and he does the DTG. So he does screen printing, and I think he also does direct to fabric, and then he does He's looking into doing direct to garment printing.
Okay.
So, but I'm like, wow, I don't know, I can't do that right now. It's just it doesn't it's not suitable for what I'm doing right now. Right now, it's just I'm still trying to. I guess it's. I mean, granted I've been doing this for several years. I probably should have figured out like what I should be sticking with. I'm okay right now with the printing process that I have. Just having it all made by the third party, and then they ship directly. And I tell customers, like, look, especially when it comes to like I call it, like on the main website, I call them the exclusives, because it's only made, like it's only available to purchase on the site. And if any issues, I tell customers, like, look, you have a problem with what you received, let me know, reach out to me, I'll talk to you personally, we'll email, whatever, make it right. um you know
Have you ran into like some inconsistencies between the different printing methods? Because like having done t-shirts as well, I find like there's some that just flake off over time. I love sublimation. I can't speak it, but I like the process where the print actually just melds into the fabric, or actually is part of the fabric. That is absolutely my favorite. And then you got screen printing that has the cool texture that will wear over time. But the least favorite of mine, again, is like the vinyl just stamp where where it's printed off, and then they just heat treat it, because that's the flakes like within a couple of wash cycles.
which is weird, because like I bought my son a t-shirt from one of those kiosks that did that, right? Look great, feels real good, and just the other day, well, he's had this shirt for since October.
Yeah.
Then he wears it a lot, goes through washes, and then the other day he's wearing it. He's like, "Dad, what's going on here?"
Start come off. Yeah.
It's like peeling like a piece of paper. I was like, "Whoa, wait, okay, all right." So there's the downside to that. I'll say, if anything, I mean, so far, Redbubble, they do the direct to garment, so it's straight up from the printer. It's good if it's using, I'd say, if you're using multiple colors with exact lines.
Mm-hmm.
Using one single solid color, like say white. Now this one, surprisingly, this one has actually stood the test of time. But then
Yeah.
I've learned how to wash. I think after starting this business, I've actually learned how to really wash my shirts properly.
Mm-hmm.
Turn it inside out, um, cold water, delicate cycle,
Yeah.
and low heat. And that's what I
Yeah.
do with my clothes now. So, but I know if you're using like a single color, that there's a high chance that it's actually going to flake off faster.
Yeah.
If it's multiple colors, because it's so late, even though it's direct to garment or the printer, it's still layers. It's still
Mm-hmm.
on those colors, and with some, I can't remember if it was T Public or Bubble. It might be both, but I believe when it comes to say a dark like this, like a black T-shirt,
Mm-hmm.
if you have an image that has some dark colors, they actually layer on a white background first.
Yeah.
So they'll like say this, they'll layer on the white. Then if the actual design has color in it, then they'll put that next layer of color,
Yeah.
which actually kind of I think I've noticed that it actually holds much better.
Because it fuses and with that added pressure. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
but definitely my favorite. I I love the sublimation.
Yeah.
That's why, like for me, when the quality of the print, and I always tell people this will never fade.
Yeah.
It'll peel. It'll never crack. Nothing. If anything, I guess um, depending on the material, I know I've noticed this with heather colored shirts. So
Mm-hmm.
heather colored shirts, they have a tendency to, I don't know if it's because it's a poly cotton blend,
Mm-hmm.
but the print doesn't quite stay on as well
Hmm.
for some reason. And the thing is, I like there's a the ever hear the tri blend
Yeah.
t-shirts.
Yeah.
I love them. I love them. They fit really nice. They're soft, but they don't hold the print really well. I got
Nope.
a Labu shirt, one of my designs. I love the shirt. It's got this nice the color of the shirt is it's like this retro-y reddish, like I don't know, it's like reddish pinkish. I don't know. But I love
Mm-hmm.
the color. It's so soft. But the design after like how many washes, I'm like, man, this is starting to look distressed. It wasn't meant to be distressed. But it's like again, it's like just like so far, I don't think I've seen like a perfect combination for like um, cotton with the perfect print. Not
Yeah.
yet. I haven't seen
Yeah.
it. I mean, they're again, this is why when I think I might have put a video out like a long time ago, telling people, just because like not everybody knows how to wash, these types of shirts, the right way. You
Mm-hmm.
wash it once, and then all of a sudden it's like, why is it all, crackly? Well, it's because, or why is it all small again? Why is it small now? Like, well, because you used hot water and you threw it on high heat
Yep.
to dry it, and now it looks like baby gap. So, and you're wearing a midriff, right? When it wasn't supposed to be a midriff.
I mean,
But
that's got to be some advocacy for the people themselves, but I
yeah,
mean, you can't account for that.
I hear it. Yeah, I know. But I always like, it's like if I can give a, I know if I can give that just little piece of advice. I
Mm-hmm.
even told people, it's like, I on that video that long time ago, I even told people, it's like, look, if you like your shirt, if you like your shirt a little snug up here, and it's like you're supposed to be a medium, but you're a medium when you don't have a gut, right?
Mm-hmm.
and it fits you really nice on the top. I tell them just give your shirt a little tug, little stretch at the bottom, just to let it flow a little bit better. It'll be all right. And this is
Yeah.
with a t-shirt. a little cheat right there. I mean, you don't work out a lot, but you got a little muscle. So just you wanted to you want it to show a little bit more so that you don't look too puny. But you wear that little bit snugger on the top or a little bit fitted on the top, but you don't want to show your guts. So just give that shirt a little bit, just a little bit.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But
So here's a question though. With the classical artists, the big thing is putting stuff in a gallery. Now, online is a gallery, just is. But for like the classical, I hate to say high art, but I'm going to use the term classical artists. They put all their pieces in galleries. But I'm starting to see a trend where graphic artists will do a print and throw it in galleries. Have you ever considered doing something with that? With like you have the digital print, plus you have the garment that matches with that in the gallery. Now, obviously, you need to find a gallery that's supportive of that sort of thing. But something that I'm curious if you've ever done or anybody else has done.
Interesting, because I mean I think there's some options like on like Redbubble or TeePublic where you can actually place the designs on like a canvas, printed canvas, and I'm just like that might work, but I mean, I would say if anything, I wouldn't just throw up one of my shirt designs onto like a canvas. I feel like it seems like I need to add more to that canvas.
Yeah.
If anything, if I ever were to consider that, I would say like I would definitely take like one of the designs, and I would add more so that it is worthy of a rectangular canvas of some sort.
Yeah.
If I felt if that was like if you took like the logo and kind of put it onto a canvas, it's like it feels like it's like I just slapped a sticker onto a canvas.
Yeah, I get that.
I think it would mean like it would need more to it, just to give it more depth. I would say yeah. If anything, I mean, I think it'd be pretty cool to see. I've actually considered like just doing stuff at home, like something hang up in home.
Yeah.
I did do. I can't even remember if I actually put it out there. I created a poster type of one of my designs, which was the Lapu Lapu design, and I did this whole. It was almost like a magazine. It was a magazine framing.
Sweet.
As like how it was an inspiration from Time magazine, Man of the Year. Actually, is it right here? All right, yeah. I printed out one. It says Lapu Lapu on top in a similar fashion of Time magazine, and then it says Man of the Year 1521, and then it says I can't see the rest of it, but it's it looks it's like poster worthy.
Yeah.
And I did something with a poster type design that has like Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Right. So I did one where, and again the inspiration was with Bruce Lee's DJ Dragon. I did a little thing with that where I even took pictures of because I used to DJ, and I took a picture of my old DJ set, threw it with, and then like kind of warped it out, gave it some color, and placed it with Manny Pacquiao, and warped that out a little bit, and then threw some through a flag type background, and I used the I forgot what they call that colorway where let me see how to describe the colors. It's almost like a tan color,
Mhm.
tan plus um, a retro type red, a very dark navy. I can't remember what they call that, but it's almost like propaganda.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it basically looks like a. I made, and I think when I put it together, it was around the time when he was running, when Manny Pacquiao was running for
Yeah.
uh,
For president.
the
Yeah.
presidency.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this might be pretty cool. And I think I don't think I've actually put it out there. I think I just kind of kept it for myself. And in the background, I think as part of the background was made out of uh, bricks, like
Yeah.
brick wall. So it was almost like a big slab on top of like the side of a building or something.
That's awesome.
But and that was like something I was like I can that might be like a good art piece that I might be able to hang up on the wall at home.
Yeah. I mean, it'll create great, tying back to the cultural conversations. What this create is what art galleries do is allows for an artist to present their artwork, but it also presents the conversation of what they're trying to communicate to the community. It tells the story. Obviously, it educates and could inspire. So, I mean, it's something that in the rise and prominence of Filipino culture being featured in a wide variety of mediums, it is something that is worthy of it. Because I mean, your artwork is worthy of it. So it would be really cool to see that. But obviously, if and when, that'd be awesome to see.
Mm.
And yeah, from a Filipino American standpoint, and as another artist, I would love to see that because having to deal with a lot of the issues of like the classical artist standpoint is like, well, your artwork's not enough. It's like, well, it's still artwork. Well, it doesn't meet your standards, but it's still artwork. It's still producing. Because like the thing that I run into is most of my artwork, just like you, is inspired by comic books.
Mm.
So a lot of my pieces look like comic book frames. And the other one too is all my pieces are inspired by graffiti because I was a bit of a tagger when I was doing my hood rat shit. So what I do in combination of it is very comic booky and graffiti overlay with it, and they work really well for stickers. So
see, you're actually the first one that's actually said like gallery.
Mm-hmm.
Your stuff, that anything that I put together actually could be like in a gallery. So yeah, I really do appreciate that whole idea.
Yeah.
And who knows? Who knows? Maybe in the future, I might just take like some of the original stuff that I started out with, put something together as like individual, maybe a single individual art piece.
Yeah. Going back to the cultural gatherings, because I mean, in the past, going to the Caribbean cultural gatherings, I mean, yeah, we're watching Manny Pacquiao, eating lumpia, and doing karaoke. That's what it was. I mean, watching Pacquiao was the golden age of Fil-AM community stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So, but now where you're seeing these Filipino festivals, you got, of course, the food, the karaoke, the dances, and FMA, and the vendors of artwork. So, I mean, that'll be a really cool, like, small gathering setting. You have Filipino cuisine, you have some FMA practitioners in there, you have obviously the music, the dance, and centralized piece is the artwork that tells the cultural story and ties it all into a theme. I mean, that would just be awesome to watch and not just participate in.
I think it's something that's definitely growing here, growing a lot. At least I'm noticing it.
Mm-hmm.
I've always felt that West Coast California, they got it down pat. They got it down.
Yeah.
Here in the East Coast, it's something that's still growing. And it's growing pretty fast. It's growing faster than I can handle. But yeah, there's lots of opportunity to actually to showcase all different types of aspects of the culture. Food is big. Food is definitely like big. There's so many festivals where it's like you go to the festival and you're taking home dinner. It's
Oh yeah.
good. It's all good. Um, and then they do have lots of they do a lot of cultural dances, which I see,
Mhm.
which is always cool to watch. Um, the artists, the music, it's very, I guess my eyes might have been like really, really, I got horse blinders on, for years. And now I'm starting to see this stuff a little bit more. And I'm glad I'm actually seeing it, because now, it, even though I'm just learning it now, but I can get my, the next generation, my kids, get them started on it, as
Mhm.
soon as possible. That way it's like you don't miss out. The kids don't miss out. You know.
I mean, the fact is, what you do with your clothing branding, your artwork, you're actually part of the cultural conversation. Your work is representative of that, and you're a cultural icon as a result of that. And so, adding to the overall cascading effect as Filipinos evolve, ride those waves, and do those things, you are part of the process of creating new culture, and it's a beautiful contribution to our people and to
Thank,
the world. So,
thank,
yeah,
thank you, thank you. I love doing it. I
yeah,
really love doing it. You know, there's days where I'd stay up, like, you know, late hours at night, just, doing stuff, because it's like that video game where you gotta get to the next level, next level, next one, and
yeah, yeah.
I'll get sucked into make creating. I'll get sucked
Mhm.
into creating, and I'm just like, gotta keep going, gotta keep going. It's like, oh, my freaking back's killing me. I gotta get up from the chair,
My elbows.
and
Yeah.
you know, but I love doing what I'm doing.
Mhm.
I love the idea that, you know, I can I can mix, I can blend in Filipino and American culture together. I
Yeah.
love the whole idea. And, to the naysayers, you do you, I'll do me, and, you know, let's just stay on your side of the street.
I stand by this statement. If you're not doing, then what are you doing?
Right,
So,
right, right. You know,
so
But you're
well,
but you're doing like great things over in freaking Alaska. I mean, I didn't even know you were, the Filipinos in Alaska.
yeah, there's quite a few of us. It's just in my case, we came up here after my active duty stint there in Texas, and I didn't want to go back to the Midwest. Didn't want to go back to California, and so we moved to my wife's hometown, which was like 3, 4 generations of her family here. And it's like, well, I've been trying to get up to here to Alaska like the entire time I was in the army, and here we are. And as a process of that, like, I'm just gonna bring me and my brownness to Alaska. I'm just gonna do what I'm gonna do here. So here I am. Deal with it.
Oh man, the Inuit, man.
There's quite a few here. I mean, what's nice about being in Alaska is they just accept, like, you're just doing your own thing. Just leave me alone and let me do my own thing. But yeah, as long as you're not creating a problem, the culture here is like, well, you just do you.
Right, right.
So, but yeah. Well, this has been a couple of hours in the making, and I've really loved this conversation, and I would love to bring you back on for a later one, because again, your story and what you're trying to do needs to be celebrated, because I'm celebrating it, and what you're doing is powerful for our community. So again, I want to say thank you for what you've done and what you continue to do, and the gift of your time. Is there anything that you want to put out here? I'll put up your website, but
Oh, listen. I mean, guys, this just if anything, I'm always hoping that whatever I do inspires other Filipino American artists to do the same.
Mhm.
And I know I've touched a few people out there, like family members. I'm hoping to just inspire anybody that's Filipino American. You know what? Filipino, whatever.
Yeah.
It's really that. You know, um, Filipino Canadian, anybody. Whatever country you're at. Do something that represents, not just one part of Filipino culture, but also celebrate the other side too.
Yeah.
You're a blend, celebrate being a blend. You're halo, you're morena, anything. Just celebrate your culture in any which way you can do it uniquely.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if anything, guys, just, if you're not following Kurt yet, you better start following him. He's got good. All right. FMA in Alaska.
Trying. Well, again, I appreciate you. I'm going to drop you down, do our outro, and just hang out in the lobby. And yeah, I'll catch you here in a sec.
All right.
I appreciate you. Yeah. One sec. Well, everybody, that was a great conversation. Yeah, we didn't talk about FMA today all that much, but that's fine because this podcast is more than FMA. Because as people, we're more than just. So, in the opportunity to celebrate another part of our culture, I'm more than happy to bring on people who do artwork, people who do music, I love educators because I'm an educator. So the fact is, this podcast is more than just sitting here talking about FMA. So something to consider. In the meantime, I'm not going to do a long. Actually, no, I am going to do an outro. But the fact is, I appreciate everybody for being here, and yeah, have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys later.